Alright, got the camera set. Let me run out of view here so you guys can't see me and you can enjoy the scene. This scene is in Sumnibooma number 1. It's a small village in the traditional land of Mamprugu in northern Ghana. Now it's East Mamprusi District. But this is one of the more rural interior villages in northern Ghana. And I just wanted to give you some scenes of what life is like and let you kind of immerse yourself in the environment and the sounds and the people there. This is one of the most common sights you'll see here in the north. Girls and women at the local well pumping water to carry back home. They carry them in these big bowls on their heads. They'll carry them home, use them for drinking water. Some villages still have traditional wells that are open at the top, but most people have gotten rid of those because the water just isn't as clean for drinking, but these boreholes are much more safe. You notice the only guy in the scene here is that old man. He's down there because he's the local guy who fixes the pump when it breaks. As you can see, he's tinkering with it right now as they pump away, and the girls don't waste any time moving those bowls in and out and keep that water going all day. So this young fella, he's in the village here, and he is weaving together thatch. And if you see, it stretches way off to the left there, this long line of thatch that he's weaving together. He's gone out into the bush. This is the dry season right now, and so everything's just kind of brown. And he's gathered all this, and he'll use this to replace the roof. This time of year, it's right before the rainy seasons start, which come about May, and everybody likes to replace their old thatch, which turns kind of gray and brown over time, with new thatch. And so he's working on a new one, and he'll sit here and weave and weave and weave this, and then they kind of wrap it around in a circular motion. If you look behind him at one of the rooms behind him, you can see the thatch up there. If you look a little farther back behind him to the left, there are two interesting things. One is this kind of conical thing sticking up. That's a hen house. And then to the left is granaries. There's two kind of standalone little hut things. Those are granaries. Now these men in Sumnibooma, it's Saturday, and the school, you can see the school in the background. There's a long building back there. The school's kitchen for cooking the meals for the kids collapsed in the last few months. And so the men of the community have come out together today, and they're mixing dirt, and they're going to be making this mud hut building. If you look to the left, you can see where they've set some base stones in a circle, and they have a long pole in the middle. That pole is going to go up through the center of the hut, and they'll use some of that thatch like the boy was weaving a minute ago, and they'll put that around the top and make the roof. And then this mud that this guy's fixing is going to be made into bricks, and they'll build it layer by layer, a day at a time. They'll build a layer about a foot high, let it dry and set, and the next day they'll add another 1.5 feet, let it dry, and keep adding these mud layers till they reach about 5 or 6 feet, and then they'll put the poles and add the thatch. You see the wood actually that they've gathered back behind them. Now these guys are smart. They're staying out of the blazing sun, and they're playing a really popular game around here. It's called Wari. It's more commonly known around the world as Mancala. In some of the Francophone countries in West Africa, they'd call it Awale. But it's a game where you take these seeds or beads or marbles, or sometimes they play it with rocks, and you move them across the board. If you look online, you can find some online simulators and learn how to play it yourself. The rules here vary. They vary from place to place. Usually it's men or boys playing the game, but I've occasionally seen women playing it, and here in Mamprugu, the women have their own variety of the game, where it has slightly different rules than what the men play. But this is a really popular pastime. This and also card games. They play various card games. They like to play rummy, and they play a game called Zomp. It's a little bit like hearts or spades. They play that a lot here, especially the men. Now this is a sight that you don't see as much in northern Ghana as you used to in the old days. Now most villages have electricity, and because of that, they have electric mills that grind their corn. The main staple here is a food they call tizet, which is ground corn that is ground into a flour and kind of like cream of wheat. They boil it and make it into a thick paste, and they'll eat that with a whole variety of sauces. So nowadays, the women will carry their corn to the mill and have it ground for them and pay a small amount. But in the villages with no electricity, if there's not someone with a diesel or gas mill, the women pound it by hand, and it takes a lot of time and manpower. Actually, I shouldn't say manpower, woman power. It takes a lot of time and woman power to pound this stuff. And so she just stands out here, and she's standing in front of what they call a shade porch to stay out of the sun, and she's just pounding away at this corn so she can fix dinner for her family tonight. Saturday must be community service day, because while the men were building the new kitchen for the school, the women were out plastering a new mosque that had been built. This small little building here is a mosque. And the final step when they, well, actually the final step would be painting it, but before they paint it, they plaster it. It's a mixture that's made from mud and from cow manure, and it kind of water seals the outer part. Something interesting here, the lady on the left, she's picking up this baby, and notice how she's carrying the baby. She's holding it by its hands like that and shaking it. And I know Western audiences look at this and just be terrified at the way she's handling this baby. Notice they're laughing. She's joking around with the mother about the baby crying. They actually stretch and flex their babies when they bathe them and make their children, these small babies, extremely flexible. And that kind of stuff does not bother the kids at all. So don't freak out about that. The last stop here is on my way back home from the village. I crossed the creek, and the creek is the spot where, again, mostly children and women, they come every day to wash their clothes down here. And so they have that softball-looking thing sitting next to the girl. That's a ball of soap. That's the traditional soap that they make. And so she's just beating the dirt out of her clothes. And after they finish washing them, they'll lay them out on the rocks in this hot sun and let it dry, and then carry their clothes back home. And so most kids, this is the laundromat coming down to the creek. But it's also something that they enjoy, because it becomes a social activity. You know, all the kids come together, the women come together, they sit together with their friends, and they chat, and they catch up, and they play games. When the clothes are drying, often the kids are swimming in the river. So it's not all just work, but they turn it into something fun. Hope you enjoyed the tour, and hope you learned a little bit about Northern Ghana.